Thank you very much, and good evening to all. This short film was really a beautiful introduction. It's beautiful to hear the words of these people and to realize that today on the planet there are so many of us who share this vision that was so beautifully expressed. I would like, before we watch the movie, to give a few words of introduction, and I would place them under the word being. I'm here as a friend of Magali McDuffie, who made this movie, and a friend of Anne Poelina. She's one of the three ladies you are going to listen to. I'm grateful to be here, and I would do that with. I'm honored to represent these people from Australia. I will do that with humility also, because it would be even nicer if there would be someone from Australia and from the Aboriginal community to talk. So I will do that the best I can. Congratulations for this festival. We need so much to be in contact, in dialogue with the indigenous people today, and I will say more words later about it. I'm also happy to be in the framework of the University of London. Why am I here? I'm here because of friendship, because of encounters. We established a dialogue with Magali and Anne 2 years ago. And I came to Australia in the preparation of the COP21, the large climate conference that took place at the end of last year. And, I mentioned climate change. We're not going to talk much about climate change today, but I mention it because this is a common issue. And what is climate change? It's a crisis of symptoms. The climate crisis is really a symptom of something that is much deeper than that, and which is an unbalanced relationship of human with his environment. So we have to tackle the roots of this issue, and we share this on the planet, and this is, in a sense, quite positive, the fact that humanity today was led to connect, to interconnect, to tackle this issue. So, it made me encounter these people. Who are these ladies? So, the film is made by Magali. Magali, she's a scientist and a filmmaker. She came to the Kimberley some 5 or 10 years ago, and she's been working with them since then. So she's helping these people to communicate about what they live, and since about 20 years, several Australian Aboriginal communities decided to use videos to help them in their struggle, in their fight to defend their environment. The Australian Aboriginal civilization is considered the oldest on this planet, and some say that it has been continuously living in Australia since 60,000 years. They are, for us, really a treasury, and we have to realize all what they can bring to us, all what we can learn from them. This is at various levels. It's at the level of knowledge of the environment, knowledge of the rivers, knowledge of the plants, knowledge of the animals. At another level, there is the cosmology, the understanding of what is matter, what is energy, where does it all come from, where do we come from. It's very interesting to realize that in their words, when they describe what is the universe, what is matter, it's becoming more and more possible to make bridges between this traditional knowledge, this oral knowledge, and the most advanced contemporary science, the very advanced physics and biology now have a language that allows some dialogue with these very ancient teachings and these oral teachings. So they can help us in understanding the world. They also bring us a lot regarding how to live together, how to behave as communities. And you will hear about the Wooden Law, which is a law that has been developed within Aboriginal communities that are various in cultures, in languages over Australia. They have developed a certain way of living together. That's extraordinary, and we have to learn, because today we may need this to prepare to change our world and to move to something new altogether. So beyond all these words, we are going to meet beautiful people. When I speak to people from Australia and from Australian Aboriginal communities, I'm very much touched by the peace, the quietness, a very subtle relationship, very delicate relationship. So I honor this very much, and I really express here my respect and my love to these people. Now the three ladies. So Anne Poelina, she is an extraordinary woman who has one foot in the contemporary world and one foot in her Aboriginal communities. And she had 3 masters and 1 PhD, and she decided to come back to her community so as to develop various things and to help the community to live and protect her future. Now, I would like to invite you really to prepare yourself to this movie of 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and to be very receptive, to try to get in connection with these 3 ladies from heart to heart. It's no more about words, it's about heart. And if you allow, we will take a breath. And feel where we are. We are in London, before the city, a long time ago. What was this earth like 60,000 years ago? Here where we are, there was a river, there were forests, plants, animals. Think about it, try to connect yourself to this earth. Travel over the planet, cross ocean, be a bird, be a fish, reach Australia, reach Kimberley, reach these people who've been there for 60,000 years, and listen to these ladies. So have a beautiful journey. Thank you.
Nganga nyangana buru madwara imadwara nganga bugarara bugarara.
My grandfather been bring me here little one time and big one. I know this place. This is my country. My grandfather's country. This one now. This river.
What I'm starting to see now in Australia is that the governments are colluding with the corporations, and we are being colonised because of greed and rampant destruction of the landscape.
What's the cost to the community? What's the cost not only to the physical health, but what does it do to cultural health? What does that do when someone loses that connection spiritually?
We never born got money. We got enough money from government. We getting food and clothes, just short. That's the money we're using. Just short. We don't have the money. We don't need money.
I think it's a very important time when we, as world citizens, need to pay particular attention to what is happening in the Kimberley. There is much to learn from Indigenous people in regards to our journey of humanity and where we can take the world in terms of our learning.
Clean water.
We can run the country. We know what the rules are. We never forget. Together, shoulder to shoulder. We know what's right and what's wrong. Sorry about that, but we still got our culture. We still got our role. We still got a role to play.
Okay, so Mr. Beriot will come and answer questions you have now that you've seen the film. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think we can share first of all and hear maybe from you. I don't want to speak too much, at first. And if there are any reaction on your side, if there is anything you wish to share, what questions I can take questions, try to ask on the basis of what I know. But something I can say that. From my point of view, this movie is very rich, is also rather special. Through the talk with the three ladies and the talk about the river, so Maduwaha is a local name for Fitzroy River, through the change about their life and about the river. So there are many levels, many aspects, many dimensions in this movie in a very short time. And you can see that it jumps from one aspect to the other. There are several levels, and you can explore, and you are sensitive yourselves according to your first values or what you can hear today. But there are many different ways to look at the movie. And I would like to express the fact that what they are standing up for is just, their fight is our fight. And they fight for us. They are on the first line for defending our environment and proposing something different. But this is something I'm deeply convinced of, the fact that we are one, and that's a part of their message. And today, when we have to change something in this world, we have to invent a new world. So no one has really 100% of the solutions. They can bring a lot. And we have to invent something completely new for us and for them. So are there any question or reaction or feeling?
Yeah. I was really touched by the movie. I thought it was beautiful the way that they spoke about their kind of connection to everything. And what I'm finding sort of difficult is, in a way, we have a city cultures that rely on resources. We have to extract water from different places, or at the moment it seems that way. And what are they doing to sort of find alternatives in a way. There were some movies yesterday where we were talking about plastic and minings for oil and things, and there are ways of making plastic out of plants and things. And I was just wondering if there's if these group of people are involved with any sort of helping of trying to find kind of alternatives.
Mm-hmm. That's thank you very much. Really, that's really where our responsibility here is, to invent, to propose, and I can tell you that there are solutions, there are new concepts that are available. So in fact, for them, these communities really directly suffer from the impacts of environmental changes like climate change, among others, but also, as you saw clearly through the film, they suffer from the extractive industries, and there is a pressure. I think it's also one of the dimensions of the film to see this historical dimension and also the continuity. So, some of them really, and Anne Poelina talks of genocide, and today a new phase of genocide. The difference is that it's silent, but you see, it's very, in fact, heart-touching to see that we see people here who really have been really enslaved as young people, and these people are maybe 70 years old, and as a young man, this old man has been really a slave. So this is so close. But now, in a sense, so there are many, in fact, aggressions that are today. The aggression through mining. You will see something about nuclear waste. There is a project of dumping nuclear waste in South Australia. I could give many examples. Okay. So now, your question. I've been involved in the climate talks for 7 years. I've been involved in many international negotiations. By background, myself, I'm a meteorologist and a climate expert. And along these 7 years, I've, in the first years, I was just looking at what I had to do as a climate expert. But after 2 years, I was so frustrated to see how the climate talks went so slowly, etc. So that I came to really develop my own culture about economics, about solutions, looking at how people do on the solution side, what do they really do? And there are really new concepts that appear. You heard about circular economy, of course. And I think everyone in this room understands what is circular economy. There is now I hear about a concept of symbiotic economy. It's developed by a few people today, and a symbiotic economy involves the concept of circular economy, eco-conception. It means cradle-to-cradle conception of products, so that really when you design something, it can the entire life cycle is considered, and it should be 100% recyclable, or there should be the possibility of 100% return to nature. Now, biomimicry is integrated, so no waste at all, or full recycle of waste, etc. So there are new concepts, and some economists really tell you that we have today an extractive economy, and also an economy that is based on principle of debt, on interest, on loans, etc. But you can really build progressively a different economy, which is a regenerative economy. And in a regenerative economy, you give much value to regenerating soils, regenerating water. So I cannot make the theory of it today. Of course, I don't have the skills, but I can tell you that we can do this shift progressively. But if we really want it, building an alternative world to the world that we have today is possible if we start to have these little places of alternative solutions. So that's, I think, what we have today. This possibility and also this duty and to develop in thousands of different places. And I can tell you that today there are hundreds of thousands of NGOs or movements or local associations, etc. They are not yet connected. They are not yet fully conscious of how numerous we are. But the way to, because in fact we cannot change the system from A to B in one night or in 1 week or in 1 month. So the old world is here. We should not confront it, but we have to build beside it various alternatives in many different communities to start to have another system that develop. For example, complementary currencies are a way to build a different economy. There is not a single economical system to be applied to the world, as some people would let us believe, but multiple economies, multiple solutions. If in a certain place there starts to be some non-monetary economy where, for example, you start to grow some food on a piece of land, and instead of being 100% dependent of the monetary economy, you become 90% dependent and 10% free. So all various initiatives that allow to create alternatives. So this opens the way to the new world, and we have to build this new world beside the old, and the old is going to just to collapse progressively. So regarding you see mining and energy, so there are really other solutions, but our world today is so much dependent on big industries, big systems. The 20th century has built enormous filières, we would say in France, or processing chains, and so that a lot of energy, a lot of money energy, a lot of thinking energy is like attracted to these big things that were built in 20th century, and so little is devoted to building the new. If we are conscious of this, it will happen. So I'm very much confident that what we have to change is this level of consciousness, and once we are, for example, when we are open to the possibility of abundance, then things happen. If we stay in the old schemes of scarcity on this world is very much organized, is very much artificial, is very much like a way of controlling peoples, and where the nature that we see, the nature that these people know, the nature that these people have been knowing for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, these cycles, they are really an expression of abundance. So really the whole universe is talking about abundance, and what the economics and finance of the 2 last centuries are artificial constructions of mankind, and instead of being serving the societies, so it has become a goal in itself, and societies are serving the economical and financial system as it is today. It was done by human, so it can be undone by humans, and we can do it.
Can I ask a question about the native title that was mentioned in the film and the issue of veto? How does that work in relation to these mining activities that are occurring?
Okay. I didn't catch one of the words. The issue of what?
Veto. She mentioned veto, the power of veto.
Mm-hmm.
How effective is that? How does that work?
Yes. So what I can tell you about this is that there is this notion of titles that were given at some time to these communities, to these peoples. But it's like, lying to people in a sense, because it can give the impression that they have something, they have a title, but they don't really have the possibility to oppose to a number of decisions that are taken by either the central government or the regional governments. So that's what they want to express. It's like, you know, having a piece of paper, but when it comes to serious matters like giving a permit to an extractive industry, then it's nothing. So that's, you know, thank you for this question, because we have to be really aware of, you know, these languages that put veil on things, but you have to investigate and to see what is really the reality, because it's very easy to make beautiful speeches, it's even easy to make excuses, to ask for pardon, how do you say this in English? Pardon,
forgiveness.
to be pardoned, etc. But today we have to go much farther than that. We really have to collectively make things happen differently to create this new economy. So let us be careful with words.
The land title, from our experience, is just granting title to the skin of the land, but not the resources underneath, usually.
Maybe it's something like this, but no, I'm not enough expert on this point to tell.
So that's a pattern we see in around the Amazon, and so even when people do get their title, it's not. It's the same in this country as well. It's you have title to what we say the skin of the land, the surface, but not the resources, the minerals underneath. So the recent fracking debates in the UK. So that this is an issue that's come up where the government is saying that they can frack into people's houses even though you have the freehold and so on. So that there's similar. We have similar issues also here.
Yes, that's very interesting. Thank you for mentioning this, because that shows really the parallel. There are some pictures in the movie where you see from above, from pictures taken from an aircraft, where you see this like little squares with roads. So that's really where fracking is done, and you see how the country is exploited. Really, for me, you know, I was shocked once when I went to Australia, and when I heard someone from the mining industry talking about fracking, and there was even a slide where on the slide it was written "I love fracking," you know, with a small heart. That was very shocking to me. How can we believe that it's possible to destroy the rocks, to destroy the soil, to pollute the soils with chemicals? So to really to kill this ecosystem, and just to get some gas out of it. How can this be accepted? So, I mean, we really have to wake up, and from my point of view, on the basis of what I've found along these 7 years of collecting a lot of information, really, I'm not going to go too much into details about this technical debate, because that's not really the place and the time. But the message that I would like to transmit to you, and in this room there are many young people, students, you have to seek for independent and free information. And when you hear about research, when you hear about studies, try to see who are the experts, where do they come from, how are the decisions taken, how is the money distributed, where does the money go? Which part of the money goes to existing systems and existing answers, existing responses, existing solutions, and which part of the money goes to really fundamental research, independent research, new systems, innovative systems. How much goes to the very big corporations, and how much goes to the small companies? Really, on the basis of what I've saw along the 5 last years in particular, there are many beautiful solutions about energy production that are beyond the imagination of, I would say, 99% of the people. But like our society is not, up to now, our society was not ready enough, was not enough aware, enough standing, enough concerned by its sovereignty. So we accept too much, existing solutions. So once we become aware, I think, once we become conscious, beautiful solutions will appear.
Do you believe there's any way to incorporate or incentivize corporations into this movement?
Yes, certainly, and thank you very much for this question, because I would not like to give the impression that we have to confront, because there is one society, and in a sense, the governments we have, political leaders we have, the companies we have, big companies, in a sense, it's part of the society, so it's part of us. We have contributed at a certain level to have this. And the solution will come from everyone. So we have to, in fact, to work with corporations. What we can do is, to send messages, to say that we are more and more sensitive to where does this product come from, how was it built, in which country, what is it, how far is it recyclable, etc. So we have to really dialogue and to be aware of all our power, because as citizens, we really have 100% of the power if we take it. We are, of course, we have the power to vote, but we have the power of our own money, we have the power as consumers, we have the power as fathers or mothers, educators. We have the power to connect to others around us. We have the power to share in our local communities, to take initiatives, to develop these small alternatives that are beside the system, and so that something exists beside these big corporations. And I think that also at a certain type, and the idea is not from me, but at a certain level we have to organize collective actions, telling to these corporations, we are not against you. I mean, you are part of this society, but if you don't change the way you do things, we are going to, I would say, to go away from your products. So we now, shifting from the extractive industry to the regenerative industry, and to the extractive economy to the regenerative economy, requires some examples. But for example, I'm in contact with some people who are very much interested to the soil restoration. So they take initiative for ecosystem restoration. They consider that there is nothing that has more value than functional ecosystems, because in fact everything depends on it, and our life depends on it. There has to be some initiatives taken, so some concepts were needed, but I think these concepts now appear, and you will hear about it in the coming months and years, surely, about this regenerative economy and symbiotic economy concept. And we have to invent a new story and show that it's possible. I must say that I'm very much in favor of the development, of diversity in economies and diversity also in the kinds of in the production systems. Beside big corporations, we need middle-sized corporations and small-sized corporations that really have flexibility, that have agility, that represent a diversity of solutions, that allow a diverse economy. So we have to favor them consciously.
Any more thoughts? Any issues in the film that relate to your studies or the reading that you've suddenly been presented with for your courses?
It's not really a question, it's more a comment or my response to the movie. I feel it was very, very beautiful and inspirational to see people that has been enslaved, and so much suffering has been done on these people over those years. And actually, personally, most of the documentaries related to Aboriginal people made me very, very depressed at the end, because if you look at the history of the people and what has happened to them and to their land, it's very, very upsetting. But just seeing these women being so hopeful and, being so resistant to everything and still fighting for what they believe and for what their culture is, was very, very beautiful, yeah. So thank you for screening this movie.
Yes, thank you very much. It's extraordinary, in fact, to see how peaceful they remain, how centered. Some of these indigenous people, and here I'm thinking to other conversations I had, consider that like humanity has reached like a maximum in this craziness, okay, and that we will shift, that we are shifting, that we are going through a metamorphosis, and that this metamorphosis has really started. So some of them have really this hope that we can make it, this change. The kind of things that we can do for them, of course, is just to be aware and to talk about. We are, tonight we really, this little group that we have really established a connection. And we will carry this in ourselves in the coming days and weeks and months. Another thing that you can do maybe someday is to go there, because the Australian Aboriginal people are happy to see people like us to come and visit. And it's possible today you saw the Wilderness Center that they have developed. So it's possible to go there, to spend weeks there, to travel through the country with Australian Aboriginal people who really share their way of life, their knowledge, who would connect you to the invisible, you see, because there's so much more in the invisible than in the visible, and they are so much connected to the invisible. So these very, very valuable things, they are ready to share with you. It's also important at a different level, which is a political level, so to follow their actions. In the recent months in Australia, so there was this thing about nuclear waste dumping. The project regarding South Australia, there was a very big scandal about prisons and how young Aboriginal people are treated in some prisons. So there is a big scandal. So there is now an inquiry with, and hopefully there will be really results. About 1 year ago, some of the regional governments have declared that they want to close a number of Aboriginal community, and the reason being that they are too expensive. One of the reasons, for example, is that they spend too much, in energy. So this kind of reasons. So if this administrative closing of communities happen, it means that the little support that they get regarding, for example, health or schools, etc., will be suppressed. And the consequence of this is that some of these communities, more of these communities will be destroyed. People will leave the country, will go to the cities, and with all bad consequences that you can imagine. Practically, this will leave the country empty, and in a sense facilitate other projects like extractive projects. So you can follow these kind of things and support the way you will feel. And then additionally, I would say that this movie is available, and if you need it, you would go, I think, through the organizers of the festival to get the contacts that are shown at the end of the film, the contacts of Anne Poelina and Magali McDuffie, for example. Yes, we can hope that in this century there is this convergence or this linkage made between indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge, oral knowledge, some very ancient texts of humanity, like the Vedas, for example, where there's a lot of information, and there's so-called modern science, contemporary science. What appears more and more is that, as I said, there is more in the invisible than in the visible, much more. That this universe is a story, so it's in continuous process of creation. That we are all interconnected and everything is interconnected. That according to some very advanced physicists, really every single particle in the universe is connected to every other single particle in this universe. So that we are in this continuous process of creation, and we as human beings are really part of this process of creation and permanently receive information from all the universe, how it is now, with all the information, all the complexity, all the result of creation of the past, and we receive this permanently. It goes through us, through our consciousness, and we are part of this creative process, and we send to the universe in return something that is really what we express, what we share, our contribution to this universe, to this transformation. So that in this vision you see that we are 100% part of this creative process. So these words they belong just as well to this knowledge that many indigenous peoples carry, and to a new understanding to a new scientific understanding, but giving to this word science a very broad understanding that is much beyond the, I would say, restricted mainstream science of 1 or 2 centuries. So we can hope to see this in this century.
Okay, thank you very much.